Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Gotta shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody, power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break them, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers, let's go.
Hi everyone, this is Ringside Rain and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. And now, here is your host, Mark the Mark Martinez.
Thanks to Ringside Rain, you know that I am Mark the Mark Martinez. Welcome back to another edition of Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, the Spotlight Edition. During the Spotlight Edition, you guys know I reach out to independent wrestlers all over the world. We get to know the who, the why, the what, the how that they got into the business of professional wrestling. And man, do I love these spotlights because every story is different. Everybody's journey has a bump here, a bump there, and just how they get through it. And I'm super excited to have my guest on this week. It is Madi Monarch coming on, and hopefully, listen, she's a monarch. Everybody knows that's a butterfly. So I want to know what her knowledge is of butterflies. I'm sure she's going to run the gambit on me. I know the monarch is a butterfly. After that, I don't know anymore. But I notice she has a lot of different outfits, gear, costumes, whatever you want to call them, when she comes to the ring. So I wonder if each one is a different butterfly. And if she's ever thought about like a mask to wear a butterfly mask on the way out, or maybe, you know, she dolls up her face a little bit, but maybe paint a big butterfly on her face. I have all these weird questions. I really do, because I think this gimmick of the monarch butterfly can be encapsulated into so many different things and have so many different really cool ring attires, guys. She's got one that kind of like lights up and glows. Naomi has it on her shoes. Well, she's converted her wings. Madi Monarch has converted her wings to glow. So a lot of questions to come, and I want to know the who, the what, the why, the how that she got into the business and all of that. So stay tuned. That's going to be coming. But, of course, we have to pay our bills. So let's pay our bills, and then we'll get into the interview, all right? Guys, make sure you check out Collar and Elbow. I'm wearing right now, and you guys are like, oh, my God, does this shirt ever get out of your rotation? No, it doesn't. It is the Macho Man-inspired one with Al Snow and Head in the sunglasses. Wearing that right now, but they have a ton of other real cool shirts down at Collar and Elbow that you can check out. Dusty Rhodes inspired. They have some for Shad that's passed away, Animal that's passed away, other benefit ones essentially, but they're just all cool. And the graphics and everything are awesome, but these are great shirts, guys. These are amazing shirts. I've had them for years now. They just don't get torn, and you hear me all the time wearing these shirts because that's all I wear all the time. They're amazing. I have a boatload of them. I love them. I hope you guys check them out too. Collar and Elbow Wrestling brand. And then when you check out and you buy some, use our promo code CANCRUSHERS. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll save 10%. Don't forget, we also have a WWE affiliate code. So if you're going to shop.com, you know you want to buy a new Cody shirt or a Jade shirt or the Rock shirt, you know, use our code. It'll help support our podcast. You know you're going there, you buy it, so use our code. Sometimes we're very transparent on here. Sometimes you'll get a discount, sometimes you won't. So I can't guarantee you're going to get something and you're not going to. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. To get to that, it's in the show notes. We also post it every once in a while on our social medias, which are Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads. We'll post them there. So if you want to join conversations, join our social medias, drop into our DMs. We love to have some questions dropped off. And if you want to ask us questions, or you would love to have your own spotlight, like Madi Monarch, reach out to us, cancrusher69@gmail.com, or as I said, drop into our DMs. Don't forget, we have merch too over at CrowdMade. Go to crowdmade.com, type in Can Crushers. You'll be able to check out, we have t-shirts, we have tanks, we got hoodies, we got sweats as of right now. More to come as we continue to build that base too. But you want to support us and look sweet in our swag, make sure you check out CrowdMade and type in Can Crushers, and you'll be looking wonderful without a doubt. Guys, this has been my testimonial for the last month or so now. W Energy is unbelievable. I don't drink any of the canned energy drinks anymore because of what W has. I love the flavor of Beach and Peach, and it is just so good. I take 20 ounces of water every morning, 2 scoops, shake it up, do the thing, down it before I go to work, and there's no crash. There's no calories. There's no additives. There's no this. There's no that. It is no carbonation is the big thing for me right now. I'm trying to stay off of carbonation, and with no carbonation, it's amazing. No crash. I continue to go from 3 o'clock in the morning until 9, 10 at night. No naps during the day. Check out W and then use our promo code CanCrushers to save 10%. There's a starter kit too. If you're really looking into, hey, let me try what Mark's talking about. Try the starter kit. If you don't like it, I apologize. I sincerely apologize if that's not what you're looking for. But it did me right. It really did. Then if you want to get into the bigger tubs and everything, you can continue to use Can Crushers. You get 10% off when you order from W. It is awesome. I will recommend it. All right, let's get into the interview, Mark. Stop playing the bills. Let's talk to Madi Monarch after we hear from Al Snow.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. 2 entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Yo, this is Slim 7. You're listening to Can Crushers podcast, and I just had a whole conversation with this guy. He's kind of a mark, but I love him. We had a great talk. Make sure you continue listening to this guy and follow my stuff as well.
Welcome back, Can Crushers fans. You heard how excited I was to talk to my guest. She's been flying all over independent wrestling for a while now, and she may be, get ready for the hate from her, she may be the second biggest Blink-182 fan that I know, because my niece has all the same things. She really does. Sorry, and it's my niece. Madi, I know that's a horrible introduction, but welcome to the show, Madi Monarch. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
So Blink-182 just is your life, essentially, right?
I would say so. I got really big into Blink-182 probably around at the age of 5. And it wasn't because I found them. It was actually because of my older sister. We are 11 years apart in age. We actually share the same birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
She introduced me to them, and I actually got my first Blink-182 t-shirt from her, and it's been a downward spiral ever since. So
all-time favorite song?
All-time favorite song for me would have to be Always. I would have to say Always.
Okay. Good. And I'm sorry I backhanded you there. You probably are bigger than my niece.
There are actually a few people in independent wrestling as of right now who actually love to argue the fact that they are the biggest Blink-182 fan. So this is not my first rodeo with that.
It's crazy how many, because listen, there's music of all types. And this, of course, this is a wrestling show that we'll get there, but a lot of independent wrestlers use it as themes, use it as just hype music, and it's cool because you don't see a lot of like Sinatra used or country used. It's Blink. Everybody uses Blink on every show, at least around here too.
Oh yeah, I think that something that like I really enjoyed about it was I heard a lot of people use it for, theme music or, for wrestling shows, like when they would open up a show or like during intermission, they would play like a random playlist and it would be part of it. And I realized that Blink-182 is probably everywhere that I go. So when I decided to use all the small things, it was kind of a battle because there was quite a few people that I knew that were using Blink-182 as their theme music. And one really, really big example is Billy Starks. Billy Starks uses Aliens Exist. And when I started using all the small things, there was a lot of talk about that. Like, don't you know that Billy uses Aliens Exist? I'm like, well, yeah, they're two really, really good songs. So, I mean, I guess the fans are getting two really, really good songs that they can follow and listen to.
Yeah, and you're getting a Blink concert at it, especially if Billy and you are in the same show, right? That's perfect.
Yeah. And we actually just had a match together in October of last year. So they got two really good songs back to back. So it was awesome.
Okay, let's kind of do a little bit of the rewind. Like when you were a little Monarch, a little Butterfly, I know there's different personas of you, but we'll stay with the Monarch. Who introduced you to professional wrestling? Mom, Dad, Uncle Joe, Aunt Sally? Like, how'd you find this crazy sport?
So a lot of people who are in professional wrestling would say, I've been watching wrestling since I was little, or I used to watch it with my dad or my uncle or my grandpa. I was entirely different. And the reason I say that is because when I was a kid, I had a childhood best friend named Abby, and she introduced me to my other childhood best friend named Gracie. And Gracie was really big into the WWE. And I want to say when I was in third grade, I came over to her house and she was like, hey, like, we're going to sit down and like watch WWE. And like, she loved the Hardy Boys and she had everything like Jeff Hardy related. She had the necklace, like the whole nine. And at first I really wasn't really interested like people would think. So that's probably a lot of people probably at this moment are probably like, oh, no way. But then I got into high school and I had moved to a completely different state. I moved from Dayton, Ohio to a really, really small town outside of St. Louis, Missouri, in Illinois called Basalto. And I got into high school and befriended a couple of people. And one of them happened to be this guy named Christian Stoddard. He's a professional wrestler, also named Chris Exodus. And we were just friends at first. And then we started, expressing feelings and like wanting to date and things like that. And we started really getting to know each other. And he was like, like, I know we've been on a couple of dates, but I want to show you what I do for fun, like outside of high school and like, things like that. I was like, okay, like, sure. So we got in the car and we drove to his friend's house. And there was this big, big garage. And I'm like, what is this? Because, he had told me we were going to wrestling. And I kept thinking like, on the mat, like wrestling tournament.
Oh, like high school. Yeah.
Yeah. And I walked into the garage and there's a wrestling ring. And I was like, oh my God, I think I need to go home. Like I was not really expecting that. So, there's all these people, they're dressed up in their gear. They're talking about, hey, like, this is what you're going to do in your promo. Like, hey, this is what you're doing for this segment. You're going to walk out and you're going to do this. And, basically they were talking about everything that was going to happen before it happened. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, it's a wrestling show. Like we run a wrestling show every Wednesday and every Saturday. And there's usually about like 7 to 8 matches. And then I also got thrown off because there were people dressed up in like referee outfits, like uniforms, and there were camera guys and microphones and sound systems. I was like, okay, so like you guys have really like put this together. And at first I was like, you know what? I think I want to go home. But then I stuck around and because everybody's like, no, like stay, like you should watch. And I was like, oh man. So as time went on, I started coming every single week. And I forgot to mention how old I was. I was a freshman in high school. So I was, 15. And I was like, you know, maybe I could try taking a bump. Like, maybe I could get in there and like have fun with everyone. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And then I tried to go home and tell my dad about it.
Oh,
and
no.
my dad was like, absolutely not. Like, I only want you to go to like watch and, you know, things like that. Like, I don't want you in there. I don't want you to get hurt. And me being like this rebellious teenager, you know, because I was always a goody two shoes as a kid. I felt like this is the time I'm going to rebel because this is something I really want to do. So I was like secretly like on the show, like every couple of weeks, like one match every so often. And that's when Madi Exodus was born. And Madi Exodus and Chris Exodus were like an on TV, like married couple or dating couple, whatever you want to call it. And it was hilarious because, you know, a lot of people are like, that's a teenager. And they're playing husband and wife on camera. And it was hilarious. It was a very, very, very small show. And we were doing shows for free every week in the neighborhood. So everybody in the neighborhood knew about it. And like our friends would show up. And then we started getting our big break and started doing carnivals. And then we started doing VFWs. And it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because in the beginning, a lot of people believed I was a backyard wrestler because it was in a garage, or it was one day we decided to move the ring outside. So it was truly in somebody's backyard. So I got the big backyard label for a really long time. And then around the time I was 17, 18, I started truly getting into training because I had never worked anywhere else independently. I wanted to start expanding and going further with my friends and bettering my craft. And then eventually I dropped the Exodus name for a little while. So it was just Maddie Lee. And then it was Maddie Lee Exodus, or just Maddie Exodus. And then I want to say in 2022, Chris Exodus and I split up. And it was a very cordial split up. But I decided like, oh, I should change my name. Even though that I was offered to keep the name that I had, I was like, you know, this is like my chance to really be myself and be, you know, my own thing and really express myself how I want to. You know, and I don't have to have, you know, like a supporting background person, I guess. And I decided to change my name to Madi Monarch because of the whole butterflies and, you know, sunshine and rainbows and happiness, because that's who I am as a person.
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
And it definitely took off. A lot of people loved the name change, and everybody that I've been around for most of my wrestling career loved it. And Chris Exodus even loved it. He was like, you know, I think it really suits you super well. And now my current boyfriend, the One Man Zoo, they're like, the One Man Zoo obviously has to have a butterfly house, duh. So that's been like a joke for a little while. But yeah, this all started when I was 15, and I can say that I've been in the business for 10 years, but truly like independently, I would say like more like 5 or 6, just because I didn't leave my home promotion for such a long time. And we also started on a super small scale and had to do a lot of growing, a lot of changing. And then eventually we actually started selling tickets and having big crowds. So I was there from the very beginning to now. And then last year I was appointed as a founding mother for my home promotion, since I've been there since the very beginning, which was really, really awesome for me, just because of how much time and work and effort I've helped with the company, and watching everybody grow and change as people and turn into really awesome human beings in the independent scene. Like it was probably like one of the best parts of my career, honestly. Cause like, I remember like looking at myself and being like, man, I was a teenager once, like in here with all these people. And here I am now as a 24-year-old adult. And so much has changed in my wrestling career. It's insane. Like, I think I've like, even with everything that I've just mentioned, I feel like I've hardly scratched the surface of like what we've done as a whole.
Oh, yeah. And you're still, this isn't a backhanded compliment or anything, you're still a baby in wrestling. You know, if you want to say trained for 5 years and then the other 5 years, I'm not saying playing, because I respect what you did and do and all of that. But, you know, continuing to grow, even those 5 years prior to the training, essentially, that you're saying, you're learning something, you're taking the bumps, you're weathered in all of that. But you are still a baby in the business. 10 years. There's people that are out on the independent circuit for 30 that have never sniffed anything.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, even I will even go back to like, and I'm sure that everybody can like attest and like agree to this, is like they can go back and watch their old matches and they like cringe, or like they kind of just have that moment where they were just like, what was that? That was definitely me for a couple of years, where I'm just like, oh, what was I doing? And I'm very, very happy with all the progress I'm making, and like I'm still learning and I'm still traveling and meeting all kinds of new friends, and it's been great. Like I feel like this year has been really promising so far. Like I thought like last year so much had happened, like what more could happen, and like this year has definitely put me to the test. It's like, hey, I'll do you one better.
Right? Yeah. So much to unpack in that whole thing. Once Dad finds out, because listen, a 17-year-old son upstairs, this, that, and the other thing. Once Dad finds out that you're actually on the card, does he come? Does he give you well wishes? How does he feel about it now and all of that?
That was like so we had a show booked at a local, it was like a really, really big park. It was a big sports complex, and it was, during the summer. And the show, that the promotion I'm talking about is Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, and we used to go live on Facebook and broadcast our matches from there, depending on like what show it was, and then sometimes we would videotape them and then put them up on YouTube as like a weekly show thing. And when the show went live on Facebook, I think that's where my dad saw it, was because fans were taking pictures, they were tagging my Facebook page, because I didn't have a separate wrestling Facebook at that time. And that following Monday, because this was a Saturday show, Sunday it didn't get brought up, but Monday on the way to school, he's driving me to school, and he's like, hey, like, how was your match on Saturday? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like trying to play dumb. And he's like, I saw pictures. Listen, like if you're happy, like that's what I care about. Like, just for the love of God, please do not get hurt. Like, try to be safe and protect each other, things like that. And that was like a really nice moment to have with my dad, because before all of this, I wanted to be in roller derby and I wanted to roller skate. And when I moved here, I kind of lost touch with it because of the fact that like there wasn't a local rink that I could go to weekly and practice. And, I was eventually going to try to find a team when I got older, but I was like, wrestling kind of just put itself there, and that's where I ended up going. And eventually my dad did come to a couple of shows and watch, but the first show that he showed up to, I actually was not booked.
Aw, boo.
But he enjoyed it. And then I want to say 2021, April of 2021, a little after COVID, things started opening back up again. And I was back on a show, and it was for a women's championship, and it was a fatal 4-way, and my dad was in the crowd. And I remember going out there and thinking like, oh my gosh, my dad is going to have like his normal, like stern, like straight face, like stare. But as I was out there and having all these jitters, because like not only did my dad come, my younger brother came, my uncle came, my aunt came, like some friends of theirs showed up, and I'm just like, my legs are shaking. My whole body is shaking. Like the emotions are wanting to erupt out of me, because I'm like, please don't screw this up for everyone. So then the next thing I know is like, I turned my back away from him to get the other side of the crowd going, and I heard him behind me. And I think that was a very big moment, because I turned around in a state of shock, and I was like, oh my God, that's my dad. That's my dad that's doing that. Like, that's my dad out there, like screaming his head off like that. And he did that the whole way through. And then being able to win that match at the end for the women's title, I think that was just the icing on the cake for me.
You just gave me chills right now. Like, I could just picture that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And then I had a booking for a women's championship in Ohio for Extreme Valley Wrestling, and I was against Juniper Gates and Ari Alexander, they're amazing workers themselves.
Juniper's been on the show. Love Juniper.
I love Juniper. Juniper is so sweet. And Juniper, I actually went over on Juniper for the belt. And, I told my dad, I was like, hey, like, I have this show in Ohio. And he was like, oh, like, that weekend I'm actually going to Ohio. So, like, why don't you just ride with me? And, like, so his girlfriend, my brother, and myself, we all loaded up in the car and went. And he actually paid for tickets to get in. Like, he paid for like an actual like personal booth for them to sit in, and he brought other people with him, so like it was a huge thing. And I don't think XVW was expecting a very large fan base for me to show up, and I wasn't expecting it myself, because I was like, oh, maybe like my mom and my dad and my brother will come. But like, come to find out, the girl that introduced me to professional wrestling and watching it on TV, Gracie, actually showed up. And she had never been to shows before. Like, she had seen me on YouTube. She had seen it on Facebook. And she actually showed up. And I was like, oh my God, like, I haven't seen you in years. And she was like, I would have not missed this for the freaking world. Like, if I had to pick a favorite wrestler, it would be you. Like, now it's you. When I was a kid, it would have been, Jeff Hardy or John Cena or Daniel Bryan, but now it's you. And I've had some really, really good moments in wrestling. But to say that, like, my family has really, like, started standing behind me along with my best friend, like, that was big.
These are all feel-good stories. Listen, as a 46-year-old dad, to hear, you talking about this family, because, listen, sometimes family gets broken in professional wrestling. It's a rough sport, right? It is a rough sport to keep a family, but to have them have your back, we don't get a lot of these talks. This is awesome. I love you and your family. I really do.
I definitely thought, like, because, like, with wrestling, I think something that really did, like, break me at one point was my older sister and I, like, she had talked about, there were so many times that she had came into town, and I was like, I have a show this weekend, like, maybe you could come, because I would hang out with her before the show, and then, like, after, when we would have, like, family outings and things like that. But it just never worked out. And I want to say right before I had the show for the CHWA Women's Championship to be crowned the first ever CHWA Women's Champion, a couple weeks before that, I was broken with the news that my sister had passed away. And it was a car accident. It was really, really sudden. It was a shock. So I kept thinking, like, am I going to be able to keep going? And am I going to be able to keep doing this? Am I going to have to take a break? And I ended up pushing through. And it was actually a really good moment, I think, for me and my entire family, because, like, my family showed up, and, like, it just showed that, like, no matter the circumstance, like, we still pushed through to be there for the other moments. But yeah, it was a really big thing during that time. I think 2021 was a really big comeuppance for me, because of the fact that there were so many traumatic things going on. But I was also like, do I want to push wrestling out? Do I want to take a break? But I feel like wrestling has always been this big, like, this place, like, this safe place that, like, I can run to, and I can be this really, really awesome version of myself. Because, like, for most of my life, I feel like when I was, like, even a child, like, I dealt with the whole bullying thing. I definitely had my ugly duckling days. I'm sure that everybody's went through that at some point.
I'm still there.
Like,
so yeah, it's okay.
But, like, I feel like when I got into wrestling, I created this really awesome version of myself that I had always dreamt of being, because Madi Monarch is so confident and so happy, and she's easily able to make friends, and she puts smiles on everybody's faces. She's a comedian. She's funny. But then I sat there and had to really reflect, and I'm like, that's my personality just showing through to strangers, Mm-hmm. And I used to hold that back from everyone, because I thought, like, people think it's annoying. They think it's, like, a nuisance, or it's just going to get made fun of. But then I realized that, like, I'm in this place where people do enjoy it. Like, there is a place for those things. And I've realized that, like, there is, like, this part of me that can show and shine bright. And when wrestling comes around, and, like, I have these shows, and, like, the moment that I walk through the curtain, it's like every single issue that I have, like, in my mind or at hand at that moment goes away for a little while. And it's, it's obviously not like, I'm not like ignoring it in the real world, but it's like that time is amazing for me, because it's like, how can something like this do that for somebody? And I think that's why like wrestling connects with me super well, is because it's given me so much that I never realized that I could have all these things.
And what it's doing for you, yours is, let's round this, say a 15-minute match, 20-minute match, or whatever. You're doing that for the audience there for 3 hours. Essentially, that's what wrestling does. Everybody needs that escape. Individual matches, 20 minutes apiece. But you guys are taking care of the whole audience in the same way. I completely agree. And you spoke about the curtains being magical. As a ring announcer, commentator, and all of that I do, I get the jitters in the back knowing that I'm just going to talk. But when you come out and you can make a fool of yourself, essentially, in your own mind, it's completely different. It just pushes you to that next level of, I'm out of, get ready for the horrible pun, I'm out of my cocoon, and I can run with it.
Oh yeah. And it's such a good feeling, because it's like, I don't even know how to like explain this properly, but it's like everybody on the roster, whether it's you're a wrestler, you're a referee, you're a ring announcer, you're the promoter, it's like everybody has their own little special place that they can be, and they all get to enjoy like a part of it. Yep. Which I think is amazing, because everybody thinks like, oh, the wrestlers are the only ones that get to have fun. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Like,
not at all.
Everybody gets to be part of it, and it grows amongst the people. Cause like I've even went to shows, and, I'll talk to the kids, and I'm like, hey, who's your like favorite person on the show? And they'll like say like the ring announcer's name. They're like, because I just think that they're so funny, or I think that they're really awesome at what they do. I want to be a ring announcer. I want to be a referee. Like, I love that there are people out there there's not it's not everyone that's like, hey, I want to be a wrestler. There's other people too in the mix that are like, hey, I want to be a wrestling promoter one day. I want to have my own show, or referee, and travel all over the world and meet all these amazing wrestlers and get to do matches for them. Like, that's a really cool part of it too, that everybody has their own special part on the show. Like, without that part, the whole show falls apart.
Yeah, it's one big family. A wrestling show is one big family taking care of each other. From the promoter down to the ring announcer, the wrestlers, I even throw love to the janitor after the show. Without them, we're not coming back to that venue of cleaning up, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, so we kind of talked about when you first went for your backyard, essentially, and I don't mean to mean, but your backyard thing. When did you really fall in love with it, though? Because the first night you're like, what the hell am I into? Was it a couple of weeks? Like, what really sparked you? Was it the outfits? Was it the glitz and the glamour? Or do you just like being beat up?
I honestly was not all glitz and glam when I started. Because from being Madi Monarch, Madi Exodus was a very like rough cut, like super punk. Like, I wore Vans as wrestling shoes, and I wore basketball shorts starting out because I didn't have gear. But then moving forward, I started wearing leather jackets and like leather pants. And then that changed into Galaxy and Stars and, things like that. And then eventually I kind of found Madi Monarch along the way, but I had help. And a lot of people are like, how did you come up with the gimmick? I was actually sitting at the kitchen table with Chris Exodus's grandma, and we call her Grandma Exodus because she's just as big of a wrestling fan as anybody else. Like, I'm sure if there were fans of Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance listening to this, they would definitely know who I'm talking about. And she actually brought up that I was like, I'm kind of stuck right now because I'm doing this whole Killer Queen thing right now. And I don't think it's going to work because I've been doing it for so many years now. And I've been seeing other killer queens in the independent scene. I feel like I should change it up, something that suits me better. And she was like, you have a butterfly tattoo on your shoulder blade. And I was like, yeah, what about it? She was like, what about a monarch? monarchs are butterflies, but they're also what? And I was like, rulers, leaders, people that the entire community looks up to. And she was like, exactly. You know, you can still somewhat keep that killer queen in there with the little Easter egg of being the monarch. So I started buying butterfly wings and getting butterfly gear and just running with it. And it has truly, no pun intended, taken flight. And it's stuck. And I ended up falling in love with it because everything that I have now is butterfly related, and it's something that I really enjoy. And I think that's where I started getting all the glitz and the glam, was having these really pretty butterfly wings. And I even had light up butterfly wings. And then,
those are amazing, by the way.
Thank you. And then I decided that, you know, being the monarch, you know, a monarch is a butterfly, yes, but there's different butterflies that I could go based off of. So I have gear based off of a swallowtail butterfly. I have blue butterfly wings. I have the emerald butterfly, and then just the regular monarch. But it's just gradually growing, and it's getting so much better. And like, I actually have new gear coming this week too that I will be debuting very soon. But I've definitely expanded the wardrobe thanks to being the monarch, because I started looking up other butterflies and like what colors they come in. I think my favorite set of gear as of right now is my green gear. And I believe it's my profile picture on Facebook and YouTube, but it's got like this hypnotic like material on the front. And there's actually a butterfly that looks just like that. And it camouflages with its environment to hide away from like predators. But it was the coolest thing ever, because I'm like, I could look up hundreds of butterflies and have hundreds of sets of gear, and I could run with this forever. Plus, I also feel like a lot of people are like, oh, butterflies are frail and small and they have a short lifespan. And it's like, hey, if it's a short lifespan, I'm here for a good time to make an impact, not, you know, for a long time to make no impact at all. And yeah, that's definitely where the glitz and glam came in. But back then, I definitely was not about, you know, doing makeup and having really pretty hair. I was just all natural and wearing leather, and I even wore knee-high Converse at one point, which was absolutely insane.
This is where I'm gonna pause for a second, where I'm gonna ask you who Madi is, and I mean Madi now. Okay, I have 3 wrestlers, and I've watched you transition, but I think you still hold some of these 3 with you, essentially all the time. You have Alexis Bliss, because you're a Spitfire, you're, 4'9", 5 foot, whatever you want to call yourself. So you got that whole spiteful thing going. I did see those Converse high boots and everything. So I kind of threw AJ Lee in there because I see some of the moveset of AJ Lee, and I'll go back when you were Exodus. You got that kind of punk thing, but you also got a lot of Liv Morgan, because you're gutless in the ring, where you'll just throw yourself willy-nilly everywhere. Do you put those 3 as, gals that you would look up to?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first started out, I think I really, really looked up to AJ. That's who I loved the most. And then seeing Alexa and seeing her size really put hope in my heart for people who were much smaller, because I'm, 4'9" in the independent business. So a lot of people, when they meet me in person, they're like, oh, I thought you were a lot taller in person. Alexa definitely gave me a lot of hope that people our size can and will be a part of wrestling in some kind of way. But I can definitely see the Liv Morgan. I even got Paige a couple times too with the whole punk thing. But I definitely would say like Alexa and AJ is where it's at. Because I looked up to them so much. Plus, their size, I think that's really what drew me into them, was the fact that like there's other people in the independent business that are the same size, close to my size, that can do this, and they make it look amazing, and I hope at some point in my career I can be just as good as them, because I'm still learning and improving and progressing every time I get in the ring, and I don't think I'm anywhere near as good as them, but I I can only hope to one day be as good as them.
How far back on tape study do you do? And is there somebody that, like, you're really keying in on right now? Like, will you go back to the 80s, or you'll even farther, or you stick in the 90s, or even right now?
I think I really stick close to like the 90s and the 2000s. And I think it's because of the fact, because I was like, I would definitely love to go further back, but I want to say like the 90s and 2000s is really where I stuck because of the fact of my older siblings. My older brother told me that, he used to watch wrestling and he would spitball all these names at me when I first started wrestling. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to really like study and know who these people are. And he was like, yeah, because I mean, if you're going to do this, like, you need to know. And I realized how much the world has changed in wrestling just because of the fact, like, I'll watch videos of like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. And, even when Charlotte Flair was in really, really small cameos back in the day, like there used to be wrestling videos that I would watch of matches. And then I would watch like cameos and promos and all these things. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I started really getting into Shimmer and watching a lot of Shimmer, the Amazing Kong and like Mischief and Daisy Hayes, like, because I got to meet Mischief in person. I want to say about 2 years ago for the first time. And she was just there just watching the show. Like, she hasn't wrestled in a long time. She's been retired. And she gave me some pointers, and she started spitting a bunch of names at me of like, hey, you should watch this and watch this and watch this. And I just started like falling into this spiral of like watching a lot of Shimmer and watching these women and like how they would dress, how they would talk, how they would walk, and how they would interact with fans. Because for a while there, I used to be a relatively quiet person when I did entrances, and then also interacting with the crowd, like in the ring. I kind of lacked for a while, and I was like, how do they do it? So, and I also was wrestling with a lot of women who were a lot bigger than me. So I would watch like Mischief versus Amazing Kong. And then a lot of people said that I reminded them a small bit of Daisy Hayes. And they were like, watch her. There's a lot of things that she does with a lot of bigger people that you could probably take from, and that's just how it went. And then I loved when Shotzi Blackheart, before she was in NXT and like WWE and things like that, I loved when she was in the independent scene.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of independent wrestling. A lot of people ask me if I watch like WWE or AEW or things like that. And I try to, but I love just watching other independent companies that are on IWTV. I also loved watching WOW and OVW, things like that, just to see who's really coming up in the independent scene. Like Ari Alexander, she
is amazing.
Yeah, and I love watching her work on OVW and anywhere else that she may be. I guess you could say I'm more into just watching independent wrestling just to see who's out there. There's a lot of women that are overlooked these days that I see, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are they not on public television? Like, why are they not on TV? Like, they're out here in the independents, like, they're just like a hidden little gem. And I love that. Like, example would be Leslie Michelle. I'm not sure if you ever had her on the show before.
I didn't, but yeah, she's somebody that's on a bucket list. Yeah.
I love Leslie. I really enjoy Leslie. I actually met her at a show in Chicago called Galley Lucha. And it was this was the first ever lucha show I had ever been part of. So there's these big flying moves, flips, hurricanranas, run up head scissors, the whole nine. And there were kids even younger than us on the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this has been missing for me. Like, I can't believe I'm just now finding out about this place. And it's been really, really cool just to see what's out there in the independent scene as of right now.
For the casual fan, if they don't have IWTV or Title Match, a couple of the other ones that are out there, stop watching. I'm a huge WWE, AEW, TNA fan. I love wrestling across the board. But you're right. There's times that I'll pause on WWE and AEW for a while and just in golf because I love indie wrestling. I love having the opportunity to talk to wrestlers like you and watch your grow, your growth across the business itself. And it's kind of more natural too. Like you get a homey feel when you're watching independent wrestling, at least around, like I'm around the Pittsburgh area, the Scranton areas where I go all the time. So it's just so much better sometimes. It really is.
You feel more up close and personal with them on those shows, I feel like.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like it's because of like maybe the camera work is so much different compared to like what they do on TV, because you're right there. Like you feel like you're right next to that person. It feels like that they're bringing you in with it. And that's
it's not overproduced is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's take a break from wrestling, and then we'll get into some of the harder questions that we ask. But let's find out about Madi when she's not going to wrestling. She's not training or anything. We know some of the stuff. We talked about Blink 182. We talked about butterflies. What other things do you like to nerd out about?
So I guess this is like something that a lot of people don't know about me, but I do attend like Comic-Cons. I'm actually planning to attend Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, Missouri in March of this year. So I do dabble a little bit in cosplay. I have made my own cosplays before. I'm learning how to sew. So I'm hoping that I can start making my own wrestling gear.
Oh, you'll be saving yourself so much money too.
Yeah, and I'm also making my own custom jean jackets as of right now. I actually upcycle, so I do a lot of shopping at Goodwill, and I will buy a jean jacket that looks like it's, still in pretty good condition, bring it home, bleach it, dye it a different color, and then design it with different logos and things. As of right now, I'm actually learning how to make homemade patches by upcycling old material. And I'm also hoping to possibly sell some of these things in the future once I get to a point where I feel confident enough to like post it on like possibly like an Etsy account, or maybe sell it at my merch table, things like that. Because I think that would be really cool for a fan to take home a personal item or piece of clothing that a wrestler took time out of their day to make.
Oh yeah, I want to be first in line. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's been super fun. I actually will have to send over pictures of what I've done so far. It's really small things, but it's definitely something better than nothing. And then I guess I've recently been trying to get into like owning like a book collection. So I have like one of like the Coraline books, Perks of Being a Wallflower. I do have some like graphic novels, like comics, things of that nature. And I'm also a very, very, very big Beatles fan. So a lot of people get thrown off by that. They're like, you're a Blink-182 fan, but you love the Beatles. And I'm like, absolutely. So I always love throwing people into a whirlwind with that. And then other than that, I would also say like getting tattoos and getting a hair appointment every couple of months and changing up my hair. That's probably another thing that I love to do. And then I also love doing photography, which I haven't been able to do as much as I would like to this year, but I do own a camera and I do my own pictures sometimes, which is helpful because sometimes someone will reach out and say, hey, I need a promo pic. And I'm like, I probably should get updated ones. Maybe I could do them myself.
Favorite tattoo? Trust me, I love tattoos too as well. I have a wrestling sleeve, essentially, of like my favorite wrestlers and their logos and everything. What's your favorite tattoo that you have?
I would say my Blink-182 tattoo for sure, because I got it on my 23rd birthday because my entire theme for my party was nobody likes you when you're 23. So,
yep.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, let's do some silly questions. Your first one is from DL Hartley.
This is DL Hartley, big boy from the big country, Mr. 325 from the 325, asking you this question. What is your favorite flavor of wings, and how do you like them?
Ooh, okay. I would say my favorite kind of wings would be flats only with either like mild buffalo sauce. It has to have ranch with it. I don't like eating wings without ranch.
I think, do you like blue cheese?
No, I hate blue cheese. My dad loves blue cheese, but I've never been a fan of blue cheese, like, ever.
And flats only. Why flats only?
They're easier to, like, break apart.
Oh, clearly. All right. I thought it was going to be, the meat's tender, but all right. That's a great wing, by the way. If you weren't a butterfly, this has to be a question you get all the time. If you weren't a butterfly, what animal would you be?
An otter. I actually have an entire otter collection that I'm starting.
I'm sorry. An otter.
It's such an out of left field thing. So a lot of people have actually asked me this, and I said an otter, and they were like, those are two completely different things. And I'm like, yeah, they're just water puppies. I just love my water puppies. So
I was waiting for like an eagle or like something like big.
No, it's definitely an otter. It's a water puppy.
I love it. Good for you. If you could only eat one thing the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's hard. So it's like stuck between two things. I would say fettuccine Alfredo, because it's been my like favorite food since I was a kid, or sushi, just because it comes in different variations. Do you ever get full on sushi though? That's my only qualm with it. I love sushi, but I never get full on it. I don't ever get full off of it. I would love to find somewhere that does like big plates of sushi that like you could just order instead of like those little itty bitty plates that has like 2 rows of like sushi.
Yeah.
I would love to find somewhere that would do like a big plate just to see how many I could truly like sit down and eat. Cause I honestly, like every time I went out for sushi, I'm like, I should have ordered more, honestly.
I know, but then you feel like a glutton. You're like, hey, can I have another whole order of what I just had? And they're like, oh my God,
yeah.
you're little. How are you putting this much in?
Yeah, because then you want to order more and then it just makes your bill go up because it's so expensive.
You travel a lot. You're a professional wrestler. You travel a lot. Do you eat gas station sushi?
No, because the one time that I really thought I was going to cave and do it, I got told no. So I was actually with my parents, with my dad and his girlfriend and my brother. We went to a gas station. I was like, oh, look, they have sushi. Like, I might buy it. And my brother was like, don't you dare do it. Don't you dare.
Smart man.
And I was like, why? Like, what could be so wrong with gas station sushi? So he went and told on, and I was like, what's so wrong about that? And he told my parents, and they were like, you're not allowed. And I was like, that's not fair.
Yeah, that's instant trip to the hospital to have your stomach pumped. You don't know how long, first and foremost, you don't know how long it's been sitting on that counter that they're selling it. And 2, where did it come from? Like, how long has it been sitting in a warehouse someplace?
It was like a really nice gas station, though. Like, they had like a little deli area, and it even had a date sell by this date. And like, I saw it like in my head, like that would be okay. But like, now that I've sat on that for a couple of years, I think the right decision was made to not get it.
Yeah.
But fortunately for me, unfortunately for my wallet, a sushi place just opened up right next to my house.
Oh no. Oh no.
So sometimes I venture over there when I have a sushi craving, but I really want to try salmon sashimi, but I have yet to try it because I don't know, something about it. It sounds good, but part of me is like, I don't know if it's going to be cooked enough. Like, what if it's not? Like, what if I get sick? What if I like take a bite and I hate it?
And then you're throwing away $25 because that's how expensive it is.
Yeah.
I get it. Please don't. I don't care how nice the gas station is. Just please, Maddie, do not eat gas station sushi. I don't care if it's Sheetz or it's a Wawa or any of the ones you have out there in Illinois. Do not do it. What's your favorite guilty pleasure that you're going to release here on Can Crushers and you have not told anybody?
Guilty pleasure? Oh gosh. Honestly,
Is it is it like a show or is it something? I set this up kind of for myself to ask you a follow-up question.
Honestly, so like a guilty pleasure of mine as of right now, like my favorite thing to do is there is a new TV show on Amazon Prime. It's a cartoon. It's called Has Been Hotel. It is a show for like people who are 18 and up because it does have some like vulgar language in it and things like that. But I love to watch it and sit down and have Dairy Queen with it. So I always love ordering my Royal New York Cheesecake Blizzard and sitting down and watching that. That's like my favorite thing to do as of right now.
First and foremost, I need to watch this Has Been Hotel. That sounds amazing. 2, that's the same Blizzard that I get. Cheesecake Blizzards, yes, let's go to town. Because I wanted to ask you, do you watch anything stupid like, and this is where I'm throwing myself under the bus, like the Love is Blind, any reality show like that?
Oh, I actually, okay, so this was for a short period. I don't watch it anymore, but I did watch Farmer Wants a Wife just because I thought like, I feel like it would be something I could laugh at the fact that like somebody paid money to have this show like aired on TV. And obviously it's like Love Island where somebody's like searching for love. But in this case, it's a farmer and he wants a woman to come live with him on his farm. And I'm just like, I wanted to watch the show and I watched a couple of episodes and I was like, I don't really care for it. I did laugh a couple times, but I did get a little annoyed because I'm like, where are the animals? Like, where is the farm that we're talking about? Like, I think that's the part that really like drove me crazy. I'm like, there's no animals. There's no farm.
Yeah, there's no farm in LA where they're shooting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm done watching this.
I brought up because I dabbled with Love is Blind, and I didn't know if that's something you did. They're so toxic, and they're just so exactly what you said. I just laugh at it. I'm like, how are people even staged doing these so oblivious to everything they're doing? It is crazy. So that's my guilty pleasure right now. Love is Blind, and I'm stuck in a hole right now. All right.
I know that the show isn't on air anymore, but I also love watching Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh, you can find them, yeah.
Yeah, like it's on. There's full episodes of it on YouTube, so that's where I just sometimes I'll sit down to eat my lunch, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch Kitchen Nightmares while I eat.
Nice. All right, back to some more serious questions. What's the best advice that you've gotten, either like in the ring, in a seminar, like behind the curtain for professional wrestling?
The first time that like I took advice and really like I've always taken every piece of advice that I've gotten very seriously, but I think something that really impacted me was I was very nervous on this show that I'm part of called St. Louis Anarchy. And it was like, you know, my first time ever being like taped for IWTV and things like that. And I remember the owner and promoter, Matt Jackson, coming up to me and being like, have fun. It's just wrestling. Like, go have fun. And I just, because I feel like there's a lot of times where I take things super, super seriously. And I'm like, I can't mess this up. I can't mess this up. But like hearing him tell me to go out there and just have fun and like enjoy it and really take in the moments that I'm having, it definitely made it a world of difference because I was scared out of my mind because I was like, this is big. It's a full house. Like I cannot go out there and have a hiccup or a mess up, or I can't like trip and stumble on my words if I decide to speak or say anything. And he was just like, go out there and have fun, like enjoy yourself. So I think that's what everybody should remember, is that you should be enjoying what you're doing. Like, don't lose the fun aspect of everything.
Yeah, I like that. That's in life, though, too. Like, we get too serious in life, so we should just, and I hate saying it like this, but YOLO, essentially. Just have fun with life and don't dwell on the little things, right?
I think another piece of advice that I could say, too, is, like, don't get too busy making a living that you forget to make a life.
Yes.
I feel like, because I've, told myself that like there's times where something will be going on in my life that I really want to be part of that may never happen again. And I'm like, wrestling will always be here. Like these moments that I'm having right now, I should really treasure and cherish. So if there's ever a point in your life where you're caught in the in-between, definitely do what you think is best. And don't forget that, you have a life, and that making a living and working is not something that you should have to do forever at 25, 8, try to give yourself those moments to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. So wrestling, this is the hardest one you're going to get. Wrestling continues to change. Good, bad, ugly sometimes. If you could wave a wand over the whole wrestling world, what is one thing that really kind of like grinds your gears and you'd love to eliminate from the business itself?
Honestly, I think something that I've really been dealing with as of recent is I've been having fans like come up to me and they'll say like, women shouldn't wrestle men. And for a big part of my career, that was something I was going to bat for, was for me to wrestle with men, because in the area that I lived in for a while, women's wrestling was really hard to come by. We don't have very many women in the area that I live in. Now it's starting to kind of grow and change and get a little bit better. But for a while I was like, why can't I wrestle men? Guys that are close to my size, because there is a few that I have come across, and a lot of people are still kind of frowning upon it. I don't expect to win for a big 6'4", 350-pound guy. I don't expect that at all, but I don't understand why we can't be in the same ring together. We're here for the same thing. We're here to wrestle and put on a show for everyone, and things like that. And I wish that people would kind of move away from that mindset. I respect everybody's opinions, but I think that intergender wrestling can be very, very entertaining if it's done right, and I think we should, be more open-minded about it. But
Agreed.
I also don't like the whole, is wrestling fake? Is it choreographed? I think that's a typical answer for everyone, is that they wish that they could wave a wand over something, is that, because it's constantly brought up. We're constantly having to repeat ourselves. And no matter what we say, they still, say, well, I think it's fake. I think it's choreographed. I think it's this. And it's like, okay, I don't know why you asked, because I gave you my opinion and you still didn't care, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, get that all the time. Again, not tooting horn or anything, but even as like the ring announcer or commentator, some people just come up and are like, well, you know everything prior to everything. How hard is it to call the matches when you know? Listen, I'm oblivious. You can ask my wife. I'm oblivious to everything around this world. I just get caught up in the moment. And the fans know, but you just live the moment. You don't care that anything. I hate the, here comes the explicit, I hate the shit stirrers, essentially, of all of that. And that's what they are.
Yeah.
All right. What is the number one thing that you're most proud of? Like, if wrestling would stop right now for Maddie, and you and your best friends are in third grade, you're hovering over yourself, what's the number one thing that you're like, oh man, in third grade, I was going to be a professional wrestler, and look where I am now? What are you happy about?
Honestly, I feel like I'm very proud of the fact that I've overcame a lot of self-hate issues, a lot of being self-conscious and not loving myself, things like that. I feel like I've overcame a lot of that part of me, because I used to battle myself like no other. And I can say that I'm very proud of myself for overcoming that part of my life and really accepting myself for who I am as a person, and just embracing my personality to other people, whether they like it or not, and learning that not everybody is going to like you or love you, and they can have their opinion of you, but what does their opinion matter? Because yours is the one that matters the most. I think that's like the proudest thing for me, is that I've definitely overcame this really, really big obstacle that really held me down for a long time. Like it had a chokehold on me forever. And I definitely can say that now in my 20s, I love myself a lot more than I did when I was a kid. And I'm very proud of that part of me, to be able to show that I've grown because of wrestling. Like, wrestling really did push me out of my shell and push me towards getting to meet people and travel and do things that I never imagined doing. And I think that's the proudest thing that I can say is being a completely different person than I used to be.
Yeah, it really does break us all out of the shell, and I'm glad it did, Maddie, because I'm so happy talking to you right now. Do you consider, and this is jokingly, do you consider wrestling sort of a sickness? Because you either love it, like we do, or there's people that don't even know wrestling exists.
I definitely think it's a sickness because it's like once you get in, it's like, I feel like you love it. There's days that you love it, other days you hate it, but then it just drags you and you love it all over again. Because it's definitely been a part of me for a long time. And there's been days where I've had this, had to sit back and wonder, like, when will the end come? Like, will I be in my 30s? Like, how long can my body truly handle doing something like this? And I keep telling myself, like, people will ask me, how long do you think you're going to wrestle for? And I tell them, I think I'm going to wrestle forever. But in the back of my mind, like, I know that day will eventually come. But I know as of right now, I'm definitely stuck where I'm at because I love what I'm doing right now. And I'm very happy with everything that I'm doing right now. It's somehow or another, it just grabs you in a way and it holds you there for a long time. And it's like, you can't break away from it no matter how hard you try because it pulls you right back in. In
the best ways, we're speaking. In the best ways. Before everybody's like, well, just get out. We're not being that crazy. Yeah, it's in the best ways.
Oh, yeah.
What are a couple more questions, and I want to give you your time to give us socials and all of that. What are your goals for 2024?
Well, one of them got kind of knocked off already. I am currently booked at a con in Indiana for Hooligan Championship Wrestling, and I'll have my own table and my own photo ops, which is really cool because I've always thought, how cool would it be to be a part of a con?
Right.
And I'm very excited about that. I would love to have new opponents this year. I would love to travel to other states. I've only hit Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Missouri, and Kansas. And I'm hoping to go way further. Like I'd love to just randomly go to like Seattle or something, or go to California,
Pennsylvania, maybe Pennsylvania,
or like Texas, or somewhere warm and have like a little vacation. I'd love to go to Albuquerque just to see it. Like, I would love to go to the Grand Canyon just for fun. The other thing too, I want to knock off my wrestling bucket list is getting on a plane. I've never been on a plane in my life.
Oh man.
Really?
So
at 24 years.
So like England, Japan, something like that would be one of the big goals.
I would love to go. I would love to go to Canada. I think that would be really fun to do too. I have a pen pal over there that actually watches my shows here in the U.S. and he's like, you should come to Winnipeg sometime. And I'm like, I'd love to come to Winnipeg just to see like what kind of wrestling they do.
I think you would fit in amazingly in Stardom, by the way, just throwing that out there. Or even WoW, because we've kind of talked about this, and I led it to the end. I think you could transition into either one of those and then run roughshod, and that's really awesome. I think that's where your character, as of right now, is built, is for one of those, because I see you just shining in those. I really do, Maddie.
I would love to go to WoW. I would love to, I think it's called Micro Wrestling Warriors, not Micro Wrestling Federation. I know who they are, but right. I would love to be part of Micro Wrestling in some kind of way, at least like once or twice. Part of me is like in between on this. So this is half on my bucket list, half on my not bucket list. I've been curious about doing like a death match, but then again, I'm like, I don't know if that's for me.
You should put your both feet in the non-bucket list for that. Not that I hate it. It's just not for everybody.
It's not. Absolutely, it's not for everybody. That's why I think part of me is like intrigued, but then the other part of me is like, let's not and say we did, homie. Like, yeah. Let's not.
Yeah, I like my face without scars and everything. I mean, at one point you had you took a Superman punch and you had a fat lip for about a week, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so let's keep the light bulbs and everything away from the butterfly.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't ever do light tubes. I don't think I could do light tubes. Like if I could avoid that completely in a match like that, sure, absolutely. But other than that, like I said, it's like my feet are really not in the water about it, but it's been pondered. It's been like, maybe, I don't know.
So your pinky toes in. That's enough. Pull it back out.
Like the temperature of the water. Like, is it really for me? I don't think so. I think another thing on my bucket list too is to try to start making my own gear. I would love to find a way to make mechanical wings for me, like wings that actually move when I wear them, so I don't actually have to like hold them for entrances. Like, I would love to make the Monarch more realistic.
Would you ever get like a mask to wear as you come out, then kind of like Andrade wears his mask out, or that you clearly take off, but like this is gonna be horrible, I don't know a lot about butterflies, but like a butterfly face essentially,
and I thought about that too, and I'm like, I've definitely pondered that idea, like maybe I should get a mask. Like, how fun would that be? I would love to try it out once or twice. I don't know if I could wrestle in a mask. I've done it like once or twice in my career, maybe even more than that. And I know that those times when I did do it, I was like, oh, I can't breathe. So maybe just for entrances.
Yeah. All right.
And then, I think that's pretty much on my bucket list as of right now.
Yeah, that's a great bucket list. I mean, listen, I know we've been saying, how long you've been in professional wrestling and everything, but Rome still wasn't built in a day. So knock off some new states, maybe, get OVW, a great organization that I could see you're right next door to OVW, essentially. You could just slide right down there.
Yeah.
All right. This is my favorite question. It really is, because I really want to know what you're going to tell me. Dream match. I want to know who your dream match is against anybody, living, dead. We'll bring them. We'll reincarnate them. The match, the stipulation, and where you want it to be.
Ooh, I think I would just. Okay, so last year my dream match was to face Billy Starks, and I already did that. But I think now I would love to have a singles match with Smiley Kylie Ray. I think. I've watched a lot of her footage, and I follow her on Instagram, and I know that she just had a baby and she just came back to wrestling, but I would love to just have a singles match with her just to see how much fun it would be, because she seems like such a happy go lucky person. I feel like we would like really bounce off of each other.
Yeah. I get that match. I love that. I haven't forgotten about Smiley Kylie. She's just been, just having a baby, just coming back right now. I kind of forgot. Yeah. You and Kylie Ray would rip it up. I think you really would. Do you want it any place special?
Honestly, no. I would take it anywhere, honestly. Anywhere. If that means like opening the door to a new state, a new place, a new venue, a new company, like I'd be totally open for it.
Okay, this is your time. Give us your socials, where you're going to be, how we can buy some of your merch, and maybe talk about your match on May 11th that you have coming up. It's kind of a big match.
Oh, yeah. So I'm supposed to be working Tiffany Nieves at Hooligan Championship Wrestling May 11th in Indiana at a con. My Instagram and my TikTok and my YouTube are all the same, which is Madi_Monarch. Every week, I am still trying to put out episodes on time, but I am currently doing a small little vlog show called Madi Monarch and her Superfly Life. And I've been doing that every week, and it's been super fun. I should be getting this week's episode out either tonight or tomorrow. But it's been so much fun because I feel like people get to see other parts of my life without all of it being wrestling. So that'll be great. But yeah, you can find me everywhere as Madi_Monarch, and then my shirts are on ProWrestlingTees.com. If you just type in Madi Monarch into the search bar, that's where you can find it.
Yeah,
I've got two shirts out right now. I actually just released a new design last week, so might want to go check that out to see what it looks like, because I think it's really cool.
It really is cool. It really is cool. My big thing is, and I know I'm going to strong arm you into this one, hopefully, you said you want new promos. Are we going to get 8x10s that, like, if somebody wants to DM you to get an 8x10 that's in Pennsylvania, that it's in Texas or something like that?
Yes, I definitely can get 8x10s. I have a lot of old 8x10s as of right now from I think early or maybe late 2022 that I still have. And I still I have an entire folder of different 8x10s. So anything that you're interested in, if you want a new one, if you want an old one, if you want action shots, anything like that, I have all of that stuff. So just let me know. I've got all kinds of stuff.
Awesome.
And I've got now, I'm supposed to be getting new t-shirts ordered. So I will have actual physical t-shirts for sale at shows. I'm trying to get custom bracelets made right now too.
With a big old butterfly on it?
Yes, I want to.
Nice. Maddie, did I forget anything else that you want to talk about real quick?
I don't think so. I think we've covered quite a bit.
We have.
I think we've got.
Thank you so much for coming on, Maddie. This has been a blast. Guys, continue to follow Maddie. Go follow Maddie. Watch her vlog. That's essentially is how we wrap back around into this, because I'm engulfed. I love that not all independent wrestlers do it, and I know you've started it recently, but I love watching your journeys, and essentially that's what Can Crushers is about, to get more people out to understand the independent wrestler, what they're doing, their struggles, and what they had to go through to get into wrestling, and that's why we like working hand in hand. So follow Maddie. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
This is Juniper Gates, otherwise known as the Last Unicorn, and I love Can Crushers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Madi Monarch, what a hell of an interview. What a hell of an interview. She ran the gamut. She told us all about, and I said it during the podcast and everything, like her backyard era of wrestling and transitioning over into being the Monarch that we know and what she's doing in professional wrestling right now. Man, she's got a great head on her shoulder. She really does. She understands, as I said in the interview again, Rome wasn't built in a day. Baby steps. Cross off some states here, some states there. What really gets me, though, and I like this, and I hope more wrestlers, especially independent wrestlers, are doing this, making your own gear. All of us aren't artsy-fartsy, but if you can learn to make your own gear, because wrestling is an expensive business, sport, entertainment, however you want to look at it, it's very expensive, especially if you're ordering and everything. I know this. So to make your own gear, you have that little bit more prestige. I love everything she's doing with it. Excuse me. And how about that? I was kind of right that she does the butterflies, and each one, I was enthralled in the conversation. As you heard, I was just sitting back listening, and I'm like, oh man, she's really giving me some knowledge of butterflies and how she transitions into each one. That's really cool. But my biggest thing, I so want wrestlers to do this. Like one-offs. Like she's going to make a jean jacket, doll it all up, and then sell it. Like not only, maybe she wears it to the ring one time, and then boom, now it's ring worn, made by Maddie, and it's just something really cool to have from your favorite wrestler, a wrestler you inspire to be, a wrestler that you want to see, go to Stardom, go to, Shimmer, go to WOW, go to one of the places they really want, and then you show up in it. If it's made for a fat guy like me, you would be like, hey, yeah, I'm here for Maddie, and I really like this. That's cool. I just love everything about this interview, and we're keeping the positivity. I really love this because she said, and I had to write this down, don't get buried, don't get too busy making a living to make a life, and that essentially continues to go what we're spreading here on Can Crushers. Be you live your life, just live for that moment. This was another great interview. Listen, they're softballs, throwing them up, we're knocking them out of the park. Unbelievable. So Maddie, thank you once again for coming on the show. Meant a lot to have you on, and I'm sure we'll probably be hearing Maddie's name again, and she'll be back on. She'll be back on, plus there's more to come. But right now, I'm going to watch Has Been Hotel. So, guys, make sure you tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called the garbage can, not a garbage cannot.